We're certainly glad you're here today. Thanks for making time for us. This is our Weber County inauguration ceremony for our commissioners and other elected officials that are coming in for the next 4-year terms. We especially welcome the families of those who are here, and we also want to welcome our 3 newly elected Davis County commissioners who are seated in the audience, our mayors that are here. I also noticed Mark Johnson from Ogden City and several chiefs of police from other law enforcement agencies seated here. We welcome a special welcome to the legislators and senators. There are former commissioners that are seated in the audience today. We welcome you here. We welcome President Mortensen and his wife Camille from Weber State University. As we get started today, I'd like to observe a brief moment of silence for fallen officer Joseph Shinners from the Orem Police Department, who was his life was taken in here just a little bit ago. So, if we do, we'll do that right now. Thank you. It's wonderful to see so many here participating in this ceremony. We appreciate your interest. We appreciate you being active or having some interest in your local government. We promise to be as brief as possible, although we plan on letting those newly elected officials speak. I'll pull on their coat, though, at about 5 minutes if each of them take, in case they choose to go longer than 5 minutes, but 2.5, 3 minutes will be great. You know, back in 1978, there was a group of singers that would tour around Utah, singing at different places. They were called the Gibson Girls. Now many of those Gibson Girls are married, but there's a second generation of Gibson Girls that'll be singing. That's Caden and Cassidy and Catherine and Corey Ann. We'll start our program today with their coming up to the lectern here, and they'll sing our national anthem. Following the national anthem, we'll have a pledge of allegiance by our recorder surveyor Leanne Kiltz, and then we'll have some opening remarks by Weber State University President Brad Mortensen. We'll go to that point. Gibson Girls? All rise.
So first and foremost, we'd like to dedicate our performance of the national anthem to Major Brent Taylor, but especially his wife, Jenny Taylor. So often are forgotten the heroes that are left at home, and we appreciate the sacrifice of every single spouse and every single servant of this country. We're so blessed and grateful to be given the opportunity to perform this for you guys. We ask that you listen to the words and really ponder on them, and next time you see a public servant, thank them, shake their hand and thank them from the bottom of your heart.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet just be it ever when free men shall stand between their loved homes and the war's desolation, blessed with victory and peace. May the hands rescue land, praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation. Then conquer we must, when our cause it is just, and this be our motto, in God is our trust. And the star-spangled banner in triumph shall wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Please stand. I know, for those that sat down, sorry. I
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's a great day. I'm very honored and privileged to be able to be asked by Commissioner-elect Frohr to make some remarks at this very awesome occasion to see our public servants and our Weber County government move forward through our democratic process. And it's an honor for me to be here. For those of you who don't know, it's also a very significant day for Weber State University. It was a Monday like this on January 7th, 130 years ago, when the first classes of Weber State Academy were taught at the old Ogden Second Ward Meeting House on the corner of 26th and Grant, right over here. And so we're actually having a celebration up on campus today for that occasion, and cutting the ribbon on the new Lindquist Hall building. And so if you'll excuse me afterwards, it's not that I don't want to be here, but need to be two places at once. But Camille and I will leave quietly, but do appreciate the opportunity to be here and address all of you. I've had the chance to work with Commissioner Jenkins and Commissioner-elect Frohr for a number of years in their roles as legislators down at the Capitol. And in thinking about what I might say today, I reflected on a book that I've been reading a little bit. It's called Leadership in Turbulent Times. It's written by Doris Kearns Goodwin, and she profiles four presidents: Abraham Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt, and Lyndon B. Johnson, and talks about some of their unique leadership qualities. And I have to admit, as I was reading about Teddy Roosevelt, it made me think of Gage a little bit, especially Ms. Goodwin said that when he was away from his public life, Teddy Roosevelt sought physical challenge, motion, and adventure. And I couldn't think of three words that summed up Gage more than that. I've been trying to keep up with him for years at Gold's Gym, or hearing about how fast he ran marathons, and I can't even compete. But hearing tales about chasing buffalo or other things, he's quite an adventuresome fellow. But even more than that, this applies to Commissioner Jenkins too, I know that they're both they have solid principles, but at the end of the day, they're going to make decisions as county commissioners that best benefit the people of Weber County. And there was a story that happened early in Teddy Roosevelt's administration. Now, he was, I didn't realize this, but he was the youngest president. He's still our youngest president ever. He became president at the age of 42 after William McKinley had been assassinated 6 months into his second term. And within a year of Roosevelt's taking the presidency, there was a big strike from the coal miners in eastern Pennsylvania. And they were holding out for better wages and working less hours. And the industry, the coal operators were not really willing to give in. There had been several strikes, and it was a really turbulent time, a lot of upheaval over the Industrial Revolution. And President Roosevelt tended to side with with the industry over labor, but realizing the dramatic impact that this coal strike would have on all the cities up and down the East Coast that were relying on coal to heat their homes that winter, he insisted and broke precedent that his administration helped to arbitrate a deal between labor and industry that put the miners back in the mines in October in time to get enough coal to keep folks warm during the winter there. And Doris Kearns Goodwin said that Teddy Roosevelt's leadership proved to be the dawn of a new era, creating a new vision of the relationship between labor and capital, between government and the people. And after this episode occurred, President Roosevelt told a friend of his, he said, "Now I believe in rich people who act squarely and in labor unions which are managed with wisdom and justice, but when either employee or employer, laboring man or capitalist goes wrong, I have to clinch them, and that is all there is to it." I know that these fine public servants who we're honoring today as they get sworn in will take that same attitude. They'll respect all parties, but when a tough decision needs to be made, they'll step up and they'll do what's in the best interest of all of us. I have carried around with me for the last 7 years this sheet of paper. I don't know if Gage will recognize this. In 2011, Weber State was bursting at the seams for our classroom spaces at our Davis campus, and the state's economy wasn't really strong. There wasn't a lot of revenue in the coffers after the Great Recession had gone through, and our legislature is not apt to bond, to go into debt very often to construct facilities, but there was our project and a number of other projects throughout the state that needed to be built. And so then Representative Frohr took the lead. He chaired the committee that oversaw capital projects for the state, and we went around and counted the votes for all the members to make sure there would be enough support to bond to construct those buildings. And that measure passed in the House by 53 to 20, and then it went over to the Senate where then Senator Jenkins was in a leadership role, and it passed 23 to 4, and we were able to construct that building and have been able to offer some great programs for Weber State, as well as the State Hospital and Utah State and the Davis Technical College. There were a number of other beneficiaries of that measure. And so even though that was not the strong policy that our state legislature, the tendency that they had to support bonding when the times were right and when there was a need, these two gentlemen stepped up to make that happen. And I have every confidence that they will continue to take that kind of leadership role in benefiting our county, and I congratulate them on being able to take on this great responsibility and know that we'll all be able to work together to help Weber County and northern Utah become a better and a brighter place in the future. Thank you very much.
Terrific. Now we'll have the swearing-in ceremonies for our elected officials, Gage Frohr, Scott Jenkins, Ryan Arbon, Chris Allred, and Ricky Hatch. As your program states, our first elected official to be sworn in will be Gage Frohr, who's won in Commission Seat B. He's asked Carrie Gibson to perform that. We would ask Gage to come forward now, and anyone that you'd like to have come with you, Gloria, your kids, whoever else you want to have come up, that'd be also appropriate. Oh, seat A, excuse me.
I don't want him in my seat.
Ready? Ready. Put your hand. This is the oath of office administered to Gage Frohr. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Gage Frohr,
Do solemnly affirm that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear that I will faithfully support the Constitution of Utah, United States,
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge
discharge
the duties of my office with fidelity.
the duties of my office with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Commissioner, I'd ask you to come up to the dais now if you would and say a couple of words.
It's okay, I'm gonna
You can say, yes, you do what you want, that's fine.
Thanks. I appreciate time to take just a few minutes, maybe less than that. I actually prepared a legislative speech and then realized that after being limited to 3 or 4 minutes, that was way too long. So I'm going to make my remarks brief. First off, I just want to thank a number of people. I want to thank you that have taken time out of your day to be at this event today. It's the people in this room that have shown support for myself and my family, the reason I'm in this position today. And I want you to know that it's not taken lightly, that I very much appreciate that over the past number of months as we've worked toward this goal and we've been able to accomplish it. I need to thank our existing commissioners, Commissioner Harvey, Jenkins, and Ebert. I've worked with them over the past several weeks and find them to be men of integrity, and I look forward to working with Commissioner Jenkins and Harvey over the next 4 years and making sure that we move Weber County in a position that all of us would like to see. I'd be remiss if I didn't also recognize my wife and family for their support. This has been over a 12-year effort for us, and without family support and friend support, this just wouldn't take place. We all know that that's a difficult path to take. You probably won't believe this, but Gloria and I actually will be coming up on 46 years of marriage, and over 50 years since we walked the halls of Weber High. We happen to have our student body president from Weber High of 1970. They're here with us today, all the way from California. So we wanted to make special note of that. Thank you, Mike, for being here. Also, I wanted to take a moment to give a special recognition to a past friend of mine that was very involved with the reason I'm here today, Mayor Brent Taylor, and I became friends when I supported him. I was asked to get involved with, in a legislative capacity, to make sure that he had a rightful seat on the UTA board. I have never experienced a person, he's an extraordinary person, was an extraordinary person that had the public service in mind with every aspect of his life. He was a true dedicated public servant. You don't know how much I wish he was here today, but I wanted to give recognition. Jenny, if you'd please stand up. I think we need to give Jenny a round of applause because Jenny, I just want you to know that I've dedicated the next 4 years into making sure that the discussions, policies, and changes that Brent was very hopeful to see accomplished will be on my radar each and every day. And I'm doing this not just for him, but for everybody in this county because he would have done the same thing. Thank you very much. So you see behind us kind of a list of some vision and goals that have been put up by past commissioners or past government folks. I think that most of these still apply today. I can say that 3 of these stand out and really what I want to concentrate on the next 4 years. Number 1, we see customer service. We can never forget that the customer of this county is the public and that the county's job, government's job, is to provide customer service each and every day to our public in a way that they expect. I will work diligently with our elected officials, with our fine, dedicated Weber County employees to make sure that they have the tools, training, and resources to make that happen. It's very important that we get back to a customer service-based definition here in Weber County. Second thing would be what I'll call up here is financial stability. It's what I call making sure that we take care of taxpayers' dollars. I firmly believe, and you probably have heard me say this before, that I think it's far better to have those dollars in the pocketbooks of our families and businesses than it is in government. We need to make sure that we restrain government spending and we put that in the place that it can be most effective. The last thing would be the public trust. And I think that the citizens of Weber County deserve and expect their elected officials to be transparent and conservative in their actions. I fully expect that myself and the other elected officials, the two commissioners, will work toward that end as I've worked with them over the past couple of weeks. I know that it's not always possible to agree on every aspect, every issue. In fact, in my years at the legislature, I found it healthy to have disagreement. I've passed a number of bills that I always thought were the perfect bills, and when I came out of committee with 12 opposing views, I thought maybe there is an idea that could be enhanced here that we could change. So disagreement is never bad. But what we have to learn is we can disagree without being disagreeable, and that's what you have my pledge on today. We will make that happen because we want to move Weber County to a place that people within the county and people that haven't yet lived here will come here and be proud to call this the place they call home. Again, thank you very much for being here. I think I've exceeded my time. Thank you.
Our next swearing in will be for Commissioner Scott K. Jenkins. He's asked his brother Mark Jenkins, thank you, Gage. He's asked his brother Mark to do that, and any of his family that would like to join him, it'd be appropriate this time. Perfect.
Okay, sit right here.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, oath of office for Scott K. Jenkins.
I,
State your name.
Scott K. Jenkins,
Do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge the duties
and that I will discharge the duties
of my office with fidelity.
of my office with fidelity. Thank you, brother. Okay. My turn?
Yep.
Okay, I'll try not to talk as long as Gage. It's good to be here today. It's funny, Gage talked about the last 12 years. As I sit and think about it, I started my political career in the mid-'80s. I had a mayor call me and want to know if I'd be on the Planning Commission. And after being on the Planning Commission for a couple years, I thought, I could do this. So I decided to run for city councilman, which I did. And I got elected. And I remember the night I got elected, my Uncle Bruce called me, who was county commissioner, and said there was 2 seats that were open, and I got the second seat by 1 vote. And he said to me, he says, Scott, come on, 1 vote. 1 vote. You couldn't have gone out and knocked the doors for another hour and got 1 vote? I said, Uncle Bruce, I won. He says, you did. Congratulations. He says, you quit too damn soon. And I've never forgot that. So anyway, after I was on the city council, I took a few years off, decided to run as mayor. And so I was mayor of Plain City for 4 years. And then when I got done being mayor, I kind of viewed my time as done. And I'll never forget, Joe Hull ran for Senate, and he ran unopposed. And I thought to myself, in fact, I was reading the paper. I was sitting there reading the paper, and my wife was right there. And I turned to her and I said, I'll never let that happen again if I happen to run myself. So 4 years later, I did that. I went down at 10 minutes to 5 on the last night to see who had filed. And I'd already checked with my brothers, who I want to thank today. Well, let me finish the story and then I'll come back to that. So anyway, I went down 10 minutes to 5 and decided I was going to file. And I did, and it was a long shot, and I know, but you end up working at these things out of fear that you'll lose and look bad. So anyway, I did, and I was able to win that. So anyway, I served 16 years in the legislature, and now I'm a county commissioner, so it's pretty exciting. My political career has gone the whole way, all the way around. I've done about all of them. So anyway, I'm a businessman too, local businessman. I own a company out here in West Ogden, a little plumbing supply house. And my brothers, Mark and Glenn, have been my partners, my business partners for 30 years. We just had our 30-year anniversary. And thank you. Anyway, they've allowed me to do this kind of stuff. You know, when you're getting in business partners, it's almost like your wife, in a way. You kind of have to ask permission for all this stuff because you're always doing so much that affects each other. And they've been so generous to me and so gracious in allowing me to do these things. I want to thank them. Mark, you've been great to me. And it's just good to serve. This is something we all need to do. I tell my kids, and of course my kids all say, I'll never do that because we've watched you do it. And it's hard. I do understand that. But, you know, I was raised in a family that was comfortable with government. I held the same seat as a senator that my uncle Merrill held, and he held the same seat that his uncle held. And so I was a third generation there. And all the time as a young kid growing up, we'd go over to my grandma's place and we'd stand there and we'd listen to him talk about government. So I was never fearful of government. I always felt like government should work for the people and you should be comfortable being involved with it. So when I decided to be involved, it didn't even set me back at all. I decided, let's do this. And it's important that everybody feel that way about the government that grants them the rights that they do, that it does. We should be comfortable being involved, and I look forward to the next 4 years serving with Gage and Jim Harvey. They're great men of integrity, and I've enjoyed the time I've spent with them both so far. And I want James Ebert to know that he did a good job. I'm very respectful of what he did while he was in here. And so I want to make sure he understands that. So thank you very much for coming today, and I give you my pledge at this time. I will work hard to do what's right for Weber County. And you can call me anytime. My phone's number is published. I don't hide from it, and I expect the calls. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Terrific. The next swearing in will be our new sheriff, Ryan Arbon. He's asked his father, J. Harold Arbon, to perform that swearing in for him, and we'd ask anybody with Ryan, anybody that you see, your wife Carrie, or any kids, anything, would love them to come up here with you. Ricky Hatch.
I, Ryan Arbin, do solemnly affirm and support, obey and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Utah, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
So in life, first things are always first, and that is gratitude. I have to make sure that I give thanks to my Father in heaven and Jesus Christ. And I also want to give thanks to my father, Jay Arbin, and my mother, Charlene. They're my best cheerleaders and best supporters. Several years ago, my brothers and I had a small developing business. And my brother and I traveled down to Salt Lake to meet with a property owner. And the property owner wanted to know why my dad was there. And he asked my father, he goes, why are you here? How are you here for your sons? and what's your role and how to support them? And my father said, any way I can. And so I remember that. That is so important in this position as sheriff, that I feel it's important that I support the residents, the voters, and everybody in this county, and those that come in contact with the sheriff's office, to support them any way I can. I also want to thank Brent Taylor also. He was one of those individuals that encouraged me to run for the office. And we must not forget, and we must always remember that if it wasn't, we put God first, family second. If it wasn't for Brent Mayor Taylor and our military, we would not have what we have right now. The other day I attended a dinner at West Haven, and I was asked at the table, how many deputies and officers do you have working for you? And my answer was none. I work for them. And that's the way this office is going to be. In my administration, in this sheriff's office, the officer comes first. The sheriff's office comes first. When you take care of them and their families, then the service for these residents will accelerate at a high level. And before we go any further, anybody who has worked or currently works or plans to work as a law enforcement officer, please stand up. They deserve a huge applause and thanks. Law enforcement's been kicked in the teeth a bit lately, and that's why we're going to change our priorities. The officers come first. They're the ones that help and save us, and that's our commitment to serve thee. And also I want to say that even though I'm a Republican, the politics of the sheriff's office stops when we provide the service for you guys. No matter what party you are with, we're going to give you all due diligence and all respect and the service that you deserve. I just want to say this in closing, that I'm so thankful for all my supporters. There's so many of you that came out on your own free will to support me and to support the goals and the vision that I have with the sheriff's office. I have to give thanks to Sheriff Terry Thompson. He is a good man, and he did a really good thing for me. He allowed me to hire my 2 chiefs, which I know are from the outside and have probably caused a little bit of interruption in the process that we're going, but these guys are good men. They're full of integrity, and their only goal in mind is to do what's right and to provide the proper service that each of you deserve. And I also want to thank the past sheriffs, Brad Slater, who I worked for briefly, and I also want to give thanks to Craig Bearden, who got me started in this career. Craig, if you're here, please stand up. You told me you were going to be here. Don't flake me. That's okay. Craig's a good man. Anyway, thank you, and I look forward to serving all of you, and we'll see you shortly. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Our next elected official will be our county attorney, Chris Allred. Chris has asked his mentor, Dave Wilson, to swear him in. Priscilla, you and your family and your mother, how awesome.
The oath of office for Christopher F. Allred. I, Christopher F. Allred,
Christopher F. Allred,
affirm that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
affirm that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
Congratulations.
First off, I'd like to thank my good friend Dave Wilson for being here today and swearing me in. Dave, as many of you know, just very recently retired from the county attorney's office, where he served as the chief civil deputy for approximately, Dave, going on 100 years or so? At any rate, Dave is unquestionably one of the best attorneys I know. He's been a great friend and a great mentor for many, many years now. And apparently he's such a good mentor that we apparently wear the exact same clothes. So that's pretty great too. Thank you, Dave. I would also like to, of course, thank my wonderful family for their ongoing love and support. My good wife, my ridiculously good children, and of course my incredible parents for their continued love, support, and encouragement really throughout my entire life. You know, my dad passed away a couple of years ago, but Dad was always so positive and so encouraging and so supportive. For instance, if I was ever in the news for any reason, Dad would typically be the first one to give me a call later that day and say something like, "Hey, son, I saw you on the news. Man, you did great. I might have said no comment. You did great. You did a wonderful job. I can't believe it. I'm so proud of you." Or, if my name showed up in the paper for the most minor of things, Dad would cut the article out, give me a hard copy. He didn't know you could get it online anytime. So he'd give me a hard copy, or maybe tape it up in the kitchen where everybody could see it. And he was always just so proud, and he would, he just seemed to think I was vastly better and more important than I ever remotely was, and that's pretty awesome. Funny thing about my mom, she's here today. She actually served on a jury in a pretty high-profile felony case that my office prosecuted some years ago. And as the lawyers were vetting the jury and asking all the normal sorts of questions, do you know any of the police officers in this case? Do you know any of the attorneys, the witnesses? You're related to anyone? Mom says, "Yeah, I have a son that works around here. He works at Ogden City." And Brandon says, "Well, Brandon Miles, my chief deputy who was prosecuting the case at the time, says, 'Well, Mrs. Allred, actually your son works in the county attorney's office. In fact, his office is right down from mine, and I see him pretty much every day.'" And Mom says, "I don't think so. Pretty sure he works at Ogden City." So Mom, bless her heart, she may not know a great deal about what I do or where I work. She probably thinks I'm an accountant or something, but it doesn't matter. She loves me a ton, regardless of what I may do or where I may work, and that's the important thing. And she's a fantastic juror. She did convict the bad guy, so she was very supportive in that way. Love you, Mom. It's Weber County is where I work, by the way, if you're interested. I'd also like to take just a minute to thank my great office for everything. The attorneys in the Weber County Attorney's Office have one of the largest caseloads in the state. It is not uncommon at all to find them working late hours or weekends preparing for a trial. It's not the least bit uncommon for them to receive a call at any hour of the night from our excellent and committed police officers for whom I'm so grateful to work. They're just such dedicated, fantastic police officers that we have in Weber County. Or they may be called out to a homicide scene at 3:30 in the morning, or any number of things. And the remarkable thing is there's never a word of complaint. In fact, it's always exactly the opposite. It's what more can we do to improve the work that we do in this office? How can we be more efficient? How can we make sure we're helping one another or providing coverage as necessary? And this dedication and attitude is certainly not limited to the attorneys in the office. We have incredible support staff and investigators and victim witness advocates who work equally hard and without whom we could not accomplish our mission. So I just want to tell these good people how thankful I am for them. I am thankful to work with people who make the county attorney's office a place where I genuinely enjoy coming to work every day. So thank you so much. In addition, last but certainly not least, I would like to acknowledge and thank the good people of Weber County for their support and confidence in me in this important position. It really is important work that we do in the county attorney's office. I take it very seriously, and it's just a great honor to serve as the Weber County attorney. Thank you very much.
Ricky Hatch, our clerk auditor, will come up. His sister, he's asked his sister, Wendy Cleverly, to swear him in. And Tiffany, and anyone else, Ricky, you'd like to?
If Tiffany, she's out with the grandbaby.
We'll just
do a
okay.
duet here.
Okay.
Raise your right arm. I state your name.
I, Ricky Hatch.
Let's start over.
Okay, sorry.
There's Tiff.
I'm doing the whole thing.
That's right.
I state your name, do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Utah, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
I, Ricky Hatch, do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Utah, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. Okay, first I want to thank my God for being so merciful to me. I want to thank my wife for being so supportive of me and my family for being so awesome. Also want to thank those people who helped me with my election. And I really want to thank the staff of the clerk auditor's office. Most of them didn't ask to work for me, and they patiently endure my harebrained ideas, and they are consummate professionals who serve with honor. And they also are very eager to serve up practical jokes, many of them with equal vigor and sophistication as their service. I may not do a lot of things well, but one thing I do well is I retain and hire excellent people, and then I get out of their way. I also want to thank the other elected officials that I've worked with over the past few years. They are phenomenal people. You are well served by the group that has been in office for a while and those who are coming in. And finally, I want to thank the voters for entrusting me with their sacred trust in serving, allowing me to serve them in this position. I want to congratulate Chris, Scott, Gage, and Ryan. I'm really looking forward to work with each of you. Ryan, people voted for you because they saw you as smart, eloquent, and honest. And now that you've taken the oath of office and have become an elected official, you will be seen as dumb, selfish, unethical, and incompetent. Welcome to the club. I've been called a communist, a jerk, inconsiderate, a limp noodle, and a flaming liberal in sheep's clothing. And that's just at the grocery store. I'm making it sound way worse than it really is. Public service is tremendously rewarding, and I absolutely love serving the people of Weber County. Now, the past few years have seen some spirited elections. Let me tell you about another election a few years ago between two rivals who I will call John and Tom. Tom's campaign labeled John as a fool, a hypocrite, a criminal, and a tyrant. They described John as a, quote, hideous, hermaphroditical character which has neither the force and firmness of a man nor the gentleness and sensibility of a woman. John's campaign branded Tom as a weakling and a coward and sent a mailer to voters that said, if Tom is elected, be prepared to see your dwellings in flames and your children tortured. Great God of compassion and justice, shield this country from destruction. That's what the flyer said. Well, John, whose full name is John Adams, won the election over Tom, whose full name was Thomas Jefferson. And despite their spiritual election, they became lifelong friends. They even passed away on the same day, July 4th, 1826. So why did I share this story? Well, no real reason, other than to point it out that as much as we complain about the state of politics today, we have some very good examples of how rough and tumble elections are, and good examples about how once the dust settles, we can become friends and work together for the good of the people. And I consider myself lucky to be able to work with each of the elected officials who were sworn in today. Now, Plato said, wise men speak because they have something to say. Fools speak because they have to say something. So all I have left to say is that I commit to abiding by the founding principles, and that's for you, Jessica, that reference, just so you know. To defend our country's and our state's constitution, to serve with fidelity, to work hard, and to not be an inconsiderate communist jerk in sheep's clothing. Thank you.
You know, a long time ago, when the country was first founded, there was a little group of folks that put together the Utah Territory. And the first county in that greater Utah Territory, which went way up into Idaho and out to Nevada and down south, the first county was Weber County. We plan on continuing to be first here in Weber County with all of you. Thank you. That concludes our inauguration ceremony. You're welcome to stay after, where the folks from the Ogden Eccles Conference Center have prepared a little food for you there. And before we close, we'd like John Bond, our Weber County Treasurer, to come up and say a couple of remarks. John?
Welcome. Man, this is a great crowd. Wow. This is awesome, isn't it? Awesome. When you give political speeches, we've been trained to provide our message under 3 minutes. So that's my goal today. Ready, set, speak. May I take time today to present a message on community? I appreciate my Chief Deputy Brenda Wilwright helping me with my visual aids. Every Christmas, my wife looks forward to receiving a new jigsaw puzzle. Soon after the Christmas routines are accomplished, the table's cleared and the new puzzle comes out. In some respects, the puzzles are very similar from year to year. It's a little heavy. Hang on. Now that you've seen it, I'll put it down. That's pretty heavy. They are usually 1,000, 2,000 pieces. The puzzle pieces from year to year are cut very similarly and interlock with each other. Many puzzles have similar rectangular shapes, and when you look at the colors and images on the individual pieces, you begin to see vibrant pictures in various colors and hues. While some features of the puzzle are the same year to year, the picture changes dramatically. Within a week or two, depending on the complexity of the puzzle's finished, she smiles, and the puzzle's admired. I'd like to compare this puzzle to the county. Some features of the county are similar from year to year. For example, this year-end report from our treasurer in 1873, Walter Thompson, is here. This is his actual report. He presented in 1873. And similarly, Brenda's report from last year. So, some fundamentals within the county don't change, but also, like the puzzles, some do. After an election, we have new vibrant pictures in various colors and hues in the form of newly elected officials who bring a wonderful new picture and vision into focus. The puzzle pieces that each newly elected official brings and adds significantly to our county. And like seeing a new puzzle, I look forward to the capacity and the vision in the molding and shaping of decisions that each of these newly elected officials bring. I also look forward, like the puzzle pieces, of interlocking with each other, of interlocking arms with each of them in unity to lift their decisions to success. The puzzle I envision is not just made up of pieces from elected officials, but each of you here bring your own piece of the county puzzle together, and every member of our community, our county, adds their piece to the puzzle. My message of community then is to invite all of us to add our pieces to the county vision that will become county reality. I challenge each of us to develop vibrant relationships. There is so much to gain by having each of us in our lives who can bring unity and thoughts different than our own. Together, we can solve problems and keep our lives from being dull and stagnant. Our lives must coexist with an ever-changing world. We need each other to create experiences that bring newness, vibrancy, adventure, and growth. Brendan Bouchard declares, if you want better relationships, get to know each other's goals. I challenge each of us to get to know each other better, to participate in our communities, to lock arms as these puzzle pieces illustrate, and together move our communities, our county forward with strength, vision, empathy, and kindness, with an appreciation for those that have gone on before. We stand on their shoulders, and as Newton declared, that because of them, we see further. So, let us join our commitments to theirs, to lift and elevate each other day by day, and so by doing, elevate this county. Thank you, and thank you very much.
To John and the other elected officials of Weber County, would you join with me in giving them all a round of applause, please? We stand adjourned.